Well, hello there. Reggie, good afternoon, good morning to you, and good morning from me to out in Dubai today. And I think we've got two speeds going on here. We've got on my phone here. It's about 5 seconds to countdown to finish. So I think the some of this is delayed by a few seconds. So now everybody's back together. Okay. Well, look, welcome everybody. This is the Sustac uh, Plans Chat Club, where we discuss everything about AI, innovation, and ethics in marketing and business. I'm PR Smith, and I've got Reggie Johnson here with me today. Reggie, greetings to you. It's morning time in Texas.
Yes, and there's no snow this week.
No snow. Good for you. Well, I'm in Dubai this week, and it's just perfect temperature, about 70 degrees. Beautiful. Really enjoying it. Swimming every day and all that sort of thing. But we've got Wayne. Wayne is actually stuck, locked up in his house by force of winds of 187 kilometers per hour wind speeds in Ireland at the moment. So you can't see him, folks, but Wayne is there behind the scenes. And Wayne Denner, thank you for being behind the scenes and setting this all up for us. So we've got a nice busy session, which just before we do, though, we'll do a little bit of an intro, which we always do. With part this one is the one we've been playing for the last few weeks, which is called Parts and Spares. Scream When You Cry. If you want, Wayne, if you can, just roll that and we'll play a little bit of it and then the full thing at the end of the show. So this is a lovely track, Parts and Spares, Scream When You Cry, an undiscovered London band.
She's going through her life. The time to say she's crazy. She's wasted all her time. But the walls are getting closer. The space up in the light. She can hear the traffic hang around. Where the lovers came round earlier tonight. When she screamed and cried.
That's lovely. That's lovely. So that's Parts and Spares. Scream When You Cry, which is a local London band. They've just done their first BBC introduction. Went down very well, and they live on my street, so I'm very happy to see them do well with that. Speaking of music, by the way, I'm not going to play this other piece, but I will post it on the notes, which we put onto prsmith.org/blog. Why a second piece? Well, I'll explain at the end of the show, but something extraordinary I discovered, and I used ChatGPT to help me figure it out. So we'll talk about that at the very end, but it's a sensational piece of music. If you haven't heard it, even my grandkids adore it, and through to anybody else I know. It's an unusual piece of work done with an 800-piece or 800-person choir to an African piece of music, which is quite an astute piece of music. I say astute, and I selected that word specifically because it is quite an astute. I'll explain why at the end. Anyway, so we've got some more music at the end. We'll place Parts and Spares again, but also I'm going to mention a piece that we're going to stick up on the notes, prsmith.org/blog. Now, we've got a busy day today. We have got another busy agenda. We've got, a quick update on TikTok. Then we're going to look at OpenAI. Is it really rotten? Is a question that's been raised in the press. We'll then move on to Google, and character AI is accused of a teen suicide and presenting 9-year-olds with hypersexual content. So we'll look at that. Moving on from more negative is Apple's news hallucinations. So good old Apple have been not hitting the mark, I'm afraid, this time around with their AI hallucinating regularly with BBC News. And then we're going to move slightly more positive with AI impact on jobs. And I don't agree with everything that's in it, but we'll share it with you. Then I'm going to ask Reggie. Well, Reggie was doing something for us before that, but to talk about what people should be studying this year in 2025 if you want a job in 2030, the way things are changing. And then after that, I'll jump in with something that we've mentioned before, this idea of the creative solutions expert, which is a new AI skill that's required in business. And then we'll go on to free AI courses, and then we'll look at using AI to get a job. So nice positive finish. Probably run out of time, but if we have time, we look at the world's first AI hotel. And then I'm going to mention that piece of music. So busy session. TikTok, the update on TikTok. Last week we said it's going to be shut down in America. This week it's all changed as Donald Trump moves into town So the ban or sell law kicked in last week. Because they were going to shut it down in America because of security risks and the danger of manipulating the population or their audience in America. Trump has now postponed the ban and suggested that they should sell it and that the US government should get 50% of the sale price. If this happens, the rumors are that Musk might move in and buy it. Remember, he bought Twitter for $44 billion. And, the Twitter audience in America is about 100 million plus. And I believe TikTok is about 100 million plus in the USA. In fact, the numbers for TikTok vary between 100 million and 150 million. It just goes to show you why you've got to be careful on the internet and with AI about statistics, because they're very different numbers, 100 million or 150 million. But the point of this is that the geopolitical twist in all of this is, of course, so Trump might get 50% of, what do we say, 44 billion. So he'd earn a nice $22 billion for the government. That'd be quite nice for the US government, I'm sure. But the twist is that President Xi, the Chinese president, and the geopolitics of this, he may or may not be prepared to sell this. He may just take the hit and say, no, you can shut it down. I'm not letting you sell it. Or he might say, he might care very much or realize that President Trump would care about TikTok more than President Xi does. And if that's the case, then he knows he can bargain. It leverages his bargaining power over Trump because, if he knows Trump really wants to get half the revenues into his back pocket and maybe the full hit of that dynamics being used by Trump and Musk for political gains as well as financial gains, then you can see that it's quite important to Trump, whereas President Xi in China mightn't think it's that important. It looks like he doesn't consider it to be that important. He rarely gets interviewed, but so he might be looking for big concessions on the tariffs that Trump's talking about putting on China, or he might demand more access for Chinese to have more access to US technology in exchange for letting the company be sold. So TikTok is a political pawn at the moment of some significance. So we'll keep an eye on that. Now, let's move on to our first item on the agenda, which is how rotten OpenAI and the Californian legal system is. Now, this is a question mark that was written by Johan Sedmar Branstedt. But Reggie, I'm going to try to ask you to summarize this lengthy piece. What's it all about?
Well, basically, you remember Suchir Balaji, who we talked about. He was an OpenAI whistleblower, helped build OpenAI, started being concerned about what he said the illegal crimes they were committing, copyright particular. He became a custodian witness for the New York Times in their suit against OpenAI. And within a month of having openly said that they were committing crimes, he was dead in his apartment. And it was ruled by the police in Los Angeles, I believe, as a suicide. Well, his mom wasn't happy with that. A lot of people weren't happy with that because it seemed a little suspicious. His mom, Purnima, I'm not going to pronounce her name right. Purnima Ramarao has taken up the cause, and she was interviewed recently by American journalist who's often associated with right-wing propaganda, Tucker Carlson. But that's not really relevant here because he interviewed the mom, and she talked about the actual crime scene, that there was blood on the walls, that there was signs of a break-in, that there was no doubt in her mind it was foul play. And she's wanting to make this public because her contention is that when the police and the legal system found out the power involved behind this, OpenAI, Silicon Valley, the people involved, the police, the detectives were afraid to get involved, which is why they ruled it a suicide instead of investigating it as a homicide. She said they looked it over in just a few minutes and quickly ruled it a suicide instead of doing a thorough investigation. So she's trying to get somebody to take up this cause and reopen the investigation. And I believe that they are looking into it now more deeply because they can't avoid it. But he was a custodian witness for the New York Times, ends up dead. Now his mom is bringing publicity to it. The concern being, did OpenAI have him killed for the testimony he was prepared to bring in the lawsuit? It seems very extreme and the kind of thing that only happens in movies. What are your thoughts, Paul?
Yeah, that is absolutely frightening. I'm astonished to hear that story. It is shocking, and I don't know. We'll just have to watch that one. It's stranger things have happened. I guess we can't just claim that these things don't happen. Let's keep an eye on this one.
I will add real quick that she
Yeah.
did clarify that there was no signs or history of depression or suicide, and they had plans upcoming. So there wasn't that kind of like history of journaling negative thoughts or thinking of suicide. There was no evidence of that, anyhow. That doesn't mean people don't take their own lives in that way, but she's contending there was no reason to believe that based on his history.
Right. Okay. Wow. Well, that's very deeply worrying. And from that deeply worrying story, another deeply worrying story about character AI. Now, we've been following character AI. This Google, they own character AI, and they are accused of contributing to a teenager's suicide. And they're also accused of delivering hypersexual content to a 9-year-old, for God's sake. Now, this is more shocking stuff, and we have mentioned Nikki Reichchild, who is very focused on protecting children, and she's a wonderful lady. I'm very, very impressed with what she writes about. So I'm just going to post her stuff onto the notes on prsmith.org/blog. We have talked about character AI before, and some of the issues and worries, and other platforms that are basically telling children to commit suicide. And in this particular case, there is a teenager that did commit suicide. And so the worry is that an ordinary conversation can suddenly deteriorate into a rogue bot effectively telling you to end your life. In a sophisticated way. It's more, it's more sophisticated than what I've just said there. It's obviously within a dialogue. And this combined with, 9-year-olds being presented with, not asking for, but eventually being presented with hypersexual content, for God's sake. Now, of course, the worry with all of this stuff is that Donald Trump is rolling back the safeguards, and Meta and people like him, we talked about this last week, are reducing or cancelling the safety checking, fact checking of content that goes on to Meta, that's Instagram and Facebook. And here we're seeing Google's character AI accused of presenting dreadful material for innocent young people, some of which actually is claimed to have caused the death of a suicide. So this is not the first time we've come across this. We've talked about it before. We will post the article in the notes on prsmith.org/blog and let you guys keep up with it. And we'll keep an eye on it. But it's absolutely appalling. Between OpenAI, what you're talking about, Reggie, earlier, and Google's character AI, it's shocking. Now, when we get Jerry McGovern on, he has stronger words to say than that. But it is worrying now that President Trump seems to be rolling back on regulating and deregulating and saying regulations impede innovation and growth of economies and all of that. I would still say, is it right to launch a new car without any safety checks? If it's not, then why would you allow social media and AI to do the same? So it seems they are doing the same. So we'll post those to keep you up to date for those of you that are particularly interested in this dreadful claims against the AI platforms. Sticking with another claim against them is Apple. They've had their news service suffering from serious hallucinations. And, this is with BBC content. So BBC's being cited as the source of hugely incorrect information. So they would be very worried by this as well. So here's some stuff that came up on Apple's news. It's Luigi Mangione, the man accused of killing United Healthcare CEO Brian Thompson, has shot himself. And it's just not true. Another one was they claimed that Luke Littler had won the PDC World Darts Championship hours before the competition even began. Another one was Spanish tennis star Rafael Nadal has come out as gay, and he hasn't. And they're citing BBC as the source. So BBC's content has been taken and adjusted or something. And there's a whole stream of these things. We'll put the link up there. So we've said before, we be wary of hallucinations. Let's have a look. In fact, we'll have a look at, will we see today? I'll tell you what, I'll post the link to it. There's a table that ranks different platforms for their inaccuracy, i.e. how many hallucinations, what the percentage of their information is hallucinating. And you might be interested in it. If you are, you can see that all these platforms have hallucinations, it seems, and some more than others. The percentages are pretty small, but they're significant. Even if it's 2 or 3%, that's 2 or 3% of absolute inaccurate information that's being put out there, and people are believing it, and that's just unacceptable in my opinion. Not in President Trump's, unfortunately. However, let's keep moving. I wanted to mention something about AI's impact on jobs. Now, this is the World Economic Forum, and they're saying that, and I'm not sure I agree with the lot putting up here, but they're saying that in the world of marketing in particular, this AI is going to have a massive impact on jobs and will wipe out a lot of jobs, it's saying. And in the area of strategy, it's saying that it's going to wipe out strategists. Again, I don't believe that, because I don't believe people even know what strategy is by and large today out there. If you ask people to tell me what's the difference between strategy and tactics, a lot of people would struggle. And then if you said, give me an example of strategy, and then give me an example of tactics and how they're different, I think people would struggle. Not everybody, but I'd say 90%, 99% actually would struggle. So therefore, if AI is scraping strategy data from the internet and other sources which are poor in the first place, then why would it be any good at developing strategies? Now you might say, Paul, you're an old fart. You're a boring old fart. You're out of date. Well, that's my answer to it, because I don't see many good strategies out there, and I search for them all the time, pre and post AI. So we'll see. Certainly, strategy. If you use the top seed components, the 9 components of good strategy, in my opinion, you can use that to generate components or possible contributors to strategy to help you build a better strategy. Yes, I'd say that's very possible if you use it the right way. You can also use it for product portfolio strategy. Yes, you need to check the numbers are right, but yes, you can do that. So there are areas where it can help. But looking at this table, and we'll post this table on prsmith.org/blogs, it's essentially saying the jobs that are most affected and the jobs that are least affected by AI. At the top of the list is data analysts, machine learning, and data. I'm saying, really? Now, maybe they're talking in 5 to 10 years' time. They're also including writers, translators, statisticians, and statistic analysts, social media marketers, marketing content. These are most vulnerable to AI replacement. Junior software developers, bug testers, accountants, payroll clerks, financial analysts. Well, I would think, yes, that would be quite vulnerable. Data entry, proofreaders, admin, okay. So they're the higher end, they're most vulnerable. And the lower end, this is from the World Economic Forum, the lower end is saying these will not be, or highly unlikely to be replaced by AI, is teaching, coaching, and training, inventors, entrepreneurs, and innovation, therapists, social workers, and counselors. Well, we already have talked about AI therapists, so there will be some impact there, I would have thought. Plumbers, electricians, and construction. Well, I've seen robots building walls beautifully, doing the brickies job, so I can't see what will stop that from happening, and building cars and so on. So don't know. Conservation, environmentalists, biologists. So biologists, the World Economic Forum says you're safe from AI at the moment. And chiefs, and artisans are safe. Now, I'll post that table because I think it's really interesting to look at it and see. Maybe it's a good check, and it's a good time to think about it. Is this true? Well, is it true? So, Reggie, I'm going to ask you, okay, we all accept AI is advancing rapidly. Yes. It's making big mistakes and doing some amazing stuff. Yes. But, what should we be studying now in the year 2025 if we're going to be looking for jobs, say, in 5 years' time, 2030? What's the thoughts there?
Well, I'm glad you asked that question. There was an interesting article by Kurt Cagle. He's an AI data modeling, and he writes a publication called the Cagle Report. And he talked about specifically what to study in 2025 if you want a job in 2030. And he talked about the first thing he addresses is the elephant in the room is IT. Well, he said there are 2 reasons people go into IT. There's a good reason and there's a bad reason. He says if you're going into it because you really like computers, programming, and all the complexity that comes from the field, then by all means, go into it. He says if you're going into it because programming pays well, that's the bad reason. He says don't, because while the jobs may come back, we can't be guaranteed it will always be something that pays well. That's the first one. Get that out of the way. Other hot technologies in 2030: intentional programming, and the idea being, well, with all of these things, he says it's the tools and the languages aren't as important as the concepts and the problem solving that comes with computer programming. Avatar and shared reality technology. He sees a big place for media in the shared space, kind of like the metaverse in the future. Semantic integration and multi-user interaction. And he says he doesn't believe that the LLMs are going to be the final shape of this. We've got further advances to go. Distributed data systems and simulation architecture and engineering. Again, there's that simulation of like digital twins and AI educational curriculum development. I think that one is
Mm.
understandable.
Yeah, I'd say that's
Drone
hot,
bro
really hot right now. I'd say, Reggie, that one you bite your hands off. Schools would at the moment, I would think.
Right, that's one that you can't get into quick enough. And drone drivers and robot repair. That reminds me of some of the dystopian future movies where humans are relegated to repairing the robots and the robots run everything. But it's there. Influencers and media producers. And I thought that was interesting. Healthcare. Well, obviously the boomers aging. There's going to be a continued demand on the medical space, healthcare space. Meta materials engineers, not Meta the brand, but meta materials being like hybrid materials with memory, power structures, or other components, like the stuff that we use for solar panels and neural chips, that kind of a thing. Power engineers, because generating power is going to be so important. And
Mm.
then we go from all of those mostly technology related things to liberal arts degree, particularly philosophy, history, linguistics, and mathematics. I think this is something he
Ooh,
shares in common with you, which is that AI questions ultimately relate closely to philosophy. But he
yeah.
talks about these disciplines. We need to understand the context of history in order to be good problem solvers, and that while there's so much focus on technology, this is something important that we won't be able to find the answers we seek through technology alone, as we need this humanistic side, this liberal arts side. And I've read elsewhere that liberal arts education has made a comeback because of what people are finding is what scientists are finding is that having that broad liberal arts education makes you a better problem solver, integrating disparate fields. But then he talks
Right.
about trades. He says, do not look down on trades, physical jobs that require both domain knowledge and manual skills. Plumbing isn't glamorous, but it pays surprisingly well, requires a surprising amount of skill, and will easily survive the robot invasion. That's an example of a trade. There are other trades, of
Mm.
course, electrical work. Anyway, and then that's his list of ideas of what will be hot in 2030 and what kinds of jobs will be, he feels like would be good ones to prepare for. What will be cold? I'll just briefly, there's just five he lists. SEO. Well, we've kind of talked about a search engine optimization is becoming AI optimization already.
Mm.
I think there will still be a place for good marketing, because nowadays, with the way SEO is, you really shouldn't just be doing SEO. You should be doing good digital marketing from a larger strategic perspective for SEO to be effective, because it's no longer just SEO. It combines with PR and everything else. And we've talked about this. You've seen my article on that.
Yeah.
But then also data scientists and analysts will be cold, he says. They've had their heyday. Prompt engineers, while chat won't disappear, there's already indications that this is kind of getting incorporated into the models. AGI, he says that by 2028, tell me if you agree, AGI will be a toxic term and AI won't be much better because it'll get absorbed into the infrastructure. Interesting, and fade into the background. And then the last one is at least one of the big five, big tech five, the tech big five will be out of fashion and will not survive the time. So, while he
Mm.
says he doesn't have a magic eight ball, those were his
Well,
thoughts on what will be hot.
that's great, Reggie. In fact, that overlaps with this thing that we've been talking about. The creative solutions expert actually actually confirms a lot of what you just said there. So this idea of the CSE, which is Justin Jones came up with this idea. I think it's his idea, the creative solutions expert. So this is someone that can blend creativity with technology understanding so that they marry intuition with analytical prowess, if you like. And it's constantly evolving. but they'll leverage AI not as a competitor, but as a collaborator. They'll see it purely as a collaborator tool. And the skills for this kind of AI era and this new position will be good at complex problem solving, critical thinking, which you always talk about, Reggie, and creative thinking, essential for this new post. They have to be adaptable, resourceful, intuitive decision makers, but those that also can know the right questions to ask. And there's creativity in the questions as well to get the information to make better decisions, as well as the intuition. And skills that make you not just employable, but indispensable. These are indispensable. They said the unique problem-solving framework, UPSF, unique problem-solving framework, is at the heart of CSE. So critical thinking is a big part of it, and it's going to be this creative solutions expert may just well be a new job that's emerging, or if people call themselves that and go looking for other jobs of a similar, they might just find they hit the jackpot there. Okay, we've just got a few minutes left, so I wanted to mention we're going to do a free AI course every week. But because I wanted to look at using AI to get a job, I'm going to skip that free AI course and we'll do it next week, because we did one last week and we got some feedback on it, which we can throw in next week. So we'll talk about a free AI course for you next week. But right now, I want to go back to Reggie. And could you use AI to get a job?
Sorry, hit my mute button. Yes,
Yeah.
actually, it was interesting because Roni Raman posted on LinkedIn that he doesn't understand why people don't use ChatGPT for job searches. He says he thinks it can help you. He talks about some different ways. One is company research. You type in, I have an interview with this company for this position, and please summarize the company's mission, core products, and services, and any recent news or achievements, from their website and any recent press releases. Well, there's research. A resume optimization. Won't go into detail on that. We know how AI can help with resume optimization. Cover letter writing. Well, we believe you shouldn't have it completely output your letter as is, but you can work with it to help draft your cover letter and make it better. Co-intelligence, that kind of a thing. Interview preparation. For the job at this company, this job at this company, what industry specific challenges or trends should I be aware of, and how can I demonstrate my understanding or propose potential solutions during the interview? This could really help you give yourself an edge. And then common interview questions, like a list of common interview questions for this industry. Behavioral interview questions, you can ask it to create a set of those. Follow up after the interview, like having it draft a follow up email template for you to work off of as a maybe dirty first draft. Technical skills assessment, and you see these where you can say like, see how well you fit for a certain job. Even LinkedIn has incorporated that, but say I need to demonstrate my proficiency in this specific skill for this job at this company. Is can you generate a practice test or challenges? And I think that there was one of these ones he mentioned they could suggest training for you to take to help upskill as well. And then salary negotiation strategies, and as well as networking and referrals. Provide tips on how to use LinkedIn for networking with employees currently working at this company. So none of these are particularly groundbreaking uses of AI, but it's the
Yeah.
application towards a common goal. There's that creative
Yeah.
solutions, but application of AI towards getting a job, and are you using it, all the tools available to you?
Nice. So it's this collaboration concept of AI is our collaboration, is our friend. It's not our competitor that's going to take everything away from us. So it's using it innovatively. Yes, indeed. Now, some people out there might be using AI looking for jobs. If you are, we want to hear your story if you had success with it, or any of your stories. Please do send them in to us. You'll see the comment section in prsmith.org/blog. At the end of each post, you can put a comment down there, which if you have, please do, or share it with us on LinkedIn. Any thoughts you have about using AI to getting your job. I'm going to finish now with a piece because it's just on 1:30. I'm going to finish with a piece about the world's first AI hotel. In fact, maybe I shouldn't, as it is 1:30. We'll save it for next week. But I'll tell you what we'll do. I'd like you to think about this. This is called the world's first AI hotel. And I'm going to ask you, if you believe in AI, then you know about this virtuous cycle of data that AI is just immersed in. So bear the virtuous cycle of data involved here. Just bear that in mind, the virtuous cycle of data. And I'm asking you to think about if you were building the world's first AI hotel, and they're claiming it is the world in Las Vegas to be the world's first AI hotel. What would you visualize that as? What would be the functionality that AI would bring to it? What would be, and they're using it, by the way, to differentiate this hotel from any other hotel in the world. And they're saying this is the first, this is unique, this is the world's first AI hotel. Now, some of it's a bit wishy-washy, but some of it does have legs. So I will reveal that to you next week, but it would be great for you to just have a little think. If you were, multi-billionaire or helping somebody build the world's best hotel, what could AI bring to the table? How could you use it to improve the experience of both the customer and the systems behind it so that you'd be more efficient, perhaps? So I'll give you a hint. The hint is the virtuous cycle of data. So when you collect data, you use it to enhance the experience. The enhanced experience will release a little bit more data that you use to enhance experience or recruit similar type of people and so on and so forth. So we'll come back to that. It really is quite an interesting one. I've been thinking about it all day. So it's a nice one. I don't want to rush it. So we'll save it for next week. Okay, it's just after 1:30 UK time. It's 5:30 in Dubai. Reggie, it's about 7:30 your time in Texas. I'm Wayne, who's been battered by 180-kilometer winds. It's like a tornado. We've never seen anything like this before in Ireland. And he's told to stay at home, not to travel. It's dangerous to see. The Atlantic's right beside him. Anyways, I did say I was going to mention this to you. An amazing piece of music. I've never heard anything quite like it by a guy called Tiken Fakali. And he sings this in French with La Grande Chorale. That's the great choir, I assume, 800 singers supporting him. And he's singing this tune that is just extraordinary. And it's in French. And I don't know what it's about. I couldn't find him. I saw a clip on Instagram. Couldn't find him. So I fed it into ChatGPT. I said, can you find this guy? Can you give me all the lyrics to this song? Because I know there's something really amazing about the lyrics. I just could tell it even though he's singing in French, I could just tell there's something about this with his 800 choir members supporting him. And sure enough, it is pretty extraordinary. The words are. And then I said, could you translate it as well? So ChatGPT did it like that for me. I'm so happy because it is an amazing piece of music by Tiken Fakali. So I'll just put that in the notes because I haven't got his permission to play it. I'll just put a link there and you can play it yourselves. But we will see it out now. Wayne, I'm going to ask you if you wouldn't mind playing this out for us. Our lovely track from Parts and Spare. Our local band from UK Ealing. I wish you all a great weekend. I'll be back in London next weekend. Reggie will be in Texas. Wayne will be safe, we hope, in Ireland, and we'll resume everything. So enjoy the weekend, and here's this beautiful track, Parts and Spare. The band is Parts. See you next week.
She's going through her life. It's hard to say she's crazy. She's wasted all her time. But the walls are getting closer. The space up in the light. She can hear the traffic hang around where the lovers came around earlier tonight. Weren't you screaming and crying? There's a crowd gathered outside. They sealed off the place.